speaker. Our next speaker is going to be Pranshu Saxena ji. He is going to talk about the Pandav Leela of Garwhal. Pranshu Saxena ji he lives in United States. Uh, Thank you, sir, for taking out this time from your life in United States. Probably it is night for you there, uh, but you are able to take this time out for us. Uh, and he came up with two proposals. Interestingly, he is capable of talking about the Karaga festival of Bengaluru also. And he proposed as an alternative topic Pandav Leela of Garwhal. I preferred Pandav Leela of Garwhal because this is a North Indian topic among most of the talks which are focused on South Indian data. So thank you very much, sir. He presented a very erudite and scholarly presentation during an earlier symposium also. Now today he will present the Pandav Leela of Garwal for us. Thank you, sir. Over.
Thank you, sir. So let me share my screen. Um, right. So basically, uh, thank you. I want to thank Indica and Dr. Nagaraj Garu for giving me this opportunity to discuss the folk festivity, especially the living celebrations of Mahabharata. And before I start, just please do interrupt me if I am going too fast. I have a tendency to talk very fast. So the topic I have, as Dr. Nagaraj just pointed out, is the Pandav Leela, which is basically in the area called Garhwal, Garhwal region of the Devabhumi, Uttarakhand. It's so Garhwal is a very specific region. It's nestled in the dunes and the valleys of the Shivalik Mountains. And Shivalik Mountains are one of the four ranges of the Himalayas, as we know, as we currently define them. The, it's the stories of Garhwal and even Kurmachal, which is part of the Uttarakhand, Devbhumi, their stories and legends are governed by their unique geography. The mountains protected this region, especially from the invasions from the plains. So their life was for quite a long time, like it was in the hoary past, full of whim, harmony with nature, devotion, and faith in gods. And they believe that the gods reside with them in the Shakti sthals in the mini Chaturdham of the Badrinath, Kedarnath, Yamunotri, and Gangotri in this region. And that the very presence of the gods, that protection of the gods through the terrain, have created a cordial atmosphere of hospitality that pervades the environment with its focus on preserving the itihasa of our culture played out in the festivals in this land, especially the Pandav Leela, which is the part of the Uttarakhand's culture that reflects its age-old history, itihasa itself. The talk will cover the stories and experiences collected via my research and travelogues of friends and scholars and my own travels in 1983 in this region. Uh, Actually, on June 17th, I still remember, 43 years, 42 years back, we left, Beirut. uh, there was dark clouds. The rain looks like it's going to be raining. It was dark mood and dark thoughts. India was 4 for 9 in place called Tunbridge Wells in England in the World Cup. And we started our journey, stopping at night at Roorkee, and then uh, getting early up in around 2 a.m. to complete the journey to reach Devprayag. And we went up and reached Devprayag just as the sun was rising. And below you could see in the first of these five prayags in this area, Panch Prayag, Devprayag, you see the mighty rivers Alaknanda and Bhagirathi meet and become Ganga. And at that very time, in a first view of Devbhumi and the first view of this, and the sun is rising, The All India Radio told us that the sun of Indian cricket has risen across the world. It dissipated the dark clouds, the dark atmosphere. Immediately coming to this land, you felt that sense of, uh, you know, gladness that and of course, there was a gentleman called Kapil Dev who's 175 was part of it, and Upar Wale ka sense of humor bhi fantastic hai. It was somebody named Dev who was the conduit of this change of mood, enhanced by the tranquil valleys and of these blessed mountains. So that's why sort of, this area has become very part of my life, part of my uh, uh, happiness and joy you get from the life itself. And people of Devabhumi believe that after the great war of Mahabharata, the victorious Pandavas came to this land to deposit their weapons with the people of Uttarakhand because they want to usher in this new era of Shanti, of peace. And they left the weapons, the ayuds, if ever we need to protect Bharati Sanskriti in future. And as hope, and as the locals always say that, may they never need, except when your team is like half the team is out for 17 runs. So as you can see from the screen, I have attempted to divide the talk into the following sections. I have used Dancing the Self, a travelogue and research into Pandav Leela by William Sachs as a primary guide, alongside several anthologies on folk Mahabharat papers printed by, among others, Sahitya Academy, Anthropological Survey of India, the National Mission for Manuscripts et al. Another topic of interest here would be how geography imposes itself on the folklore and protects the Sanskriti. And of course, we will discuss selected, Uttarakhand Pandav and Mahabharat legends, focusing on the Pandav Leela as the festival. The any part of India, there will be thousands of legends and thousands of stories, and all of them of equal interest. But I've tried to narrow the focus to the Pandav Leela, the festival, and the Pandavas as such in Mahabharata. So there's going to be the descriptions of the 10-day night festival. Nine night. It's actually a 10-day festival, but it's always called Navratri locally because of the Navratri being uh, attached to several other Indian festivals. And like anything in India, anything in Indian culture, there are no hard and fast rules and protocols or sequence of such celebrations. So I'm going to describe two of such, Pandav Leela festivals, nine-night festivals. If you ever have the fortune to participate in this festival, and they happen across Garwhal from the old Shimla district boundaries, and you actually across the border also in Himachal, in the border villages of Himachal Pradesh, onto where we abut into the Kurmachal mountains, the higher, where the Mahabharata range starts, the Kurmachal, the higher Himalayas start getting into it. So you will find that, the sequence of stories may change, but majority of the tales, the vignettes, remain the same in each of these festivals, though there is no fixed script. And I will try to also describe what we call the Shivalik stories on Mahabharata. So let's talk about geography a little bit. So this is just a quick summary and the four topics. So now, if you look at this, you see that we have Himalayas are really four different ranges. There's the sub Himalayas, the Shivaliks. Then there are the lesser Himalayas, the Mahabharat range, mostly inside Nepal, and then continuing on to. They start from the Pamir Knot. Pamir Knot is up there. So they start from basically what is Afghanistan all the way to Burma, to Indo-Myanmar range, the Arakan Yoma, and then there are higher Himalayas. which are basically, and finally the Tathian Himalayas, or what we called, some people call Tibetan Himalayas also, where you will find Mount Everest and the big ranges. So as you go higher in the mountains, the populations decrease and everything. So this is another inscription which will give you an idea what it ranges. So you look at the Shivalik range. It starts all the way from here, goes all the way to Mahabharata, to Burma, to the Arakan Yoma. So Shivalik range is like this, and this is more of a geological form of it, and the green is your Shivaliks. Now you see Kishtwar, Chamba, Kulu Valley, Garhwal, all marked in green. Further down, you will find some more green areas. Finally, down to Kachar in Assam. The legends in this green belt, I mean, this is color is just green. It's like in the Shivalik belt are virtually the stories are same in that belt, because you see the mountains sort of, if you go down the mountains, you are getting into the hills and so into the plains, and there are obviously dangers there. People stay up there, and higher up, obviously, the mountains are higher. People don't interact there. So basically, you have localized version of the legends, but you look at this, that the whole belt basically falls into this the movement of people across this belt is easier somehow because of the valleys and everything passes and all those across. So your legends are same. So Hidimba Devi is worshipped as there are temples to Hidimba Devi, a lot of temples to Hidimba Devi in Himachal Pradesh, in Kishtwar, Chamba, Kulu Valley, and in Garhwal, and all the way to Kachar. So that's one thing. But right next to Garhwal, this green belt, you see the purple, which is the higher Himalayas, the Mahabharata range butting in. Kumayu is in that region, and they literally don't know anything about Pandav Leela happening next door, because till 1980s, obviously, because now the communications are much more and everything. But in earlier days, the communications were very difficult and all that. When we also had actually gone to Badrinath, we could not proceed beyond Joshimath because we ran out of petrol. I mean, we had enough petrol to just get back to the petrol station back, and this is 1983. So it was that difficult in those days to basically communicate across. And so every year, people in Garhwal would go to this Pandav Leela festivals. They would walk 25 to 30 kilometers. They will start their trek on day one, reach 3, 4 days. They go in and reach the place where the village, and every village tries to compete. We will organize it this year. The others will say, we will organize it this year. And so there's always a sort of a competition in this. Uh, some of them also, there's actually a variation on Tulsi's, Ram Leela. So somebody would lose out, some village would lose out on performing Pandav Leela, will say, okay, we'll do the Ram Leela this year. So that's how, but everybody wants to be part of it, and it's a 9 day festival. So now let us go quickly and delve right into the uh, 9 day festival. Before I start into that, I just would like to mention that the details, the stories are so much for this 9 day festival, in so much length and detail. Alf Hilterbytel, actually in 1989, on his work on Terekattu, says the only other place where we have so much detail in the whole subcontinent from after Pandav Leela is actually deep south in Kerala, in Terracotta, at the same level of details, depth, story, and festivals and celebrations. And so there are these two places, the deep south of the peninsula, right next to, like, reaching almost up to down to Kanyakumari, and right up there in the Himalayas, high Himalayas, because in between we had the Sultanate for last 700 years. So most likely, Pandav Leela is now a very localized celebration. At one point in time, unencumbered by the invasions. It might have been all across the all across the subcontinent. Uh, and it's not only, and it's very easy to demonstrate using the high Himalayas, because I could show you that Kurmachal literally doesn't know what's Pandav Leela. They have a different set of stories, localized stories. Kurmachal are also, they basically have Vyas sort of as a big guy there, but without Pandavas being there as the temples. So, and these belts you will find right across India, where, from Sambhalpur to Surat, in across the inner India, the hidden India. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, forested Gondwana lands. Mahendra Kumar Mishra has waxed gushingly about his folk hero Bhim. So that's like a Bhim belt right there. The forest sort of protecting those festivals or those stories and legends across. From Jinji on the Coromandel coast to Malabar coast, we have the belt of Draupadi Amma temples of the goddess Jana, protecting Janamanas and Janastri from the evils beyond. So we have Shivu later and Karaga festival and Anish discussing these very folklores in detail in the symposium. So, so let us now go about discussing and showing what the Pandav Leela is about. So this is a 10 days, 9 nights celebration of one such festival. This is, I think, just before the COVID in a village called Khanioli. This village, Khanioli, is in Narayan Bagar area of Chamoli district in Uttarakhand, near Badrinath. So, and there are like five major features of Pandav Leela, which are from very beginning. One is drumming. There are a lot of drums being used as, the Kathawachak is singing. So recitation and drumming are two major parts. Of course, the dance, and there are several types of dances. Every character has their own dances and everything. And then the fourth point is the story vignettes. They are these portions of stories or stories from Mahabharata played on every day of, and it can be in any order, as I said, right? There's no fixed script. And the final part is the feasting and the hospitality of the people. They locally sponsor it. They want people to come in, and it develops out. Like, in the first couple of days, there'll be not many people watching, but there will be performers there. And then by the seventh, eighth, ninth days, there are hundreds, thousands of people, flocking to to the festival. So if you look at this one, which is the more recent one, it starts off with Christian and Ayodhya Puja, which is like a recent, changes because of, connectivity of now Garwhal with the rest of India and much more easier sharing of information and all that. So there are some changes which bring in, which, come in. So Krishna doesn't have that big a role in generally in Pandav Leela in Garhwal, but now he is. And Bhumiyalo, the Kshetrapals, and Panch Pradhan, this is a very interesting point also, Panch Dev, Panch Pradhan, are first propitiated, ki can we begin the festival. And on the second day, there's again a Krishna story on Payapati. And Payapati is basically, it's a story of trees. It's celebrating the tree of Krishna. Now, this is probably a recent innovation because of, again, I said connectivity, and now people can see TV serials and all that. So that's some of the changes which has come into this festival. Um, uh, and but Traditionally, uh, Pandav Leela worships Shami, the Shami Vraksh. That has a big place in it. On the third day, we have the one Parv se, we have the Dharmshila, which is, your Kirat Parv really episode, with Shiva as Kirat and Arjun, and Brahmari Devi episode, and I will discuss it later in detail. And then the fourth day, there are celebrations of various victories of Bhim, especially the death of Kichak or Kigach, as he's locally called. Then on the fifth day, there's this funny thing about the death of Bhim. Uh, there's like several variations of this death of Bhim. Is that when the Duryodhan poisons him and everybody thinks he's dead, and so a funerary bhoj is arranged, and Bhim comes and eats all the food at his own funerary bhoj. So that's the part of it. Other part of the story is that there is the Raja Naganjit is having a problem with Baka, and Bhim goes on his own to tackle Baka, and everybody thinks Baka has defeated Bhim, but Bhim actually has defeated Baka, and he comes back and he eats everything he had taken for Baka also, and then he comes back and eats everything at his own funerary bhoj also. Then the next 2 days are very big local, multi-layered, multi-chapter, multi-character stories of rhinoceros hide and Nagarjuna, and which is connected to the funeral of Pandu. And this is a very interesting part of it. I'll cover it in detail. Is basically is the rhinoceros story, which you would. The eighth day, which happened in Khanioli, the eighth day they enacted the Kurukshetra war, and on the ninth day, they enacted the expiation of sins by doing the Ashwamedh Yagya, giving up of weapons by the Pandavas, and started the stories on the celebration, setting up of Kedar Dham and other such other temples, Shiva temples, which Pandavas built as per the local belief in Garhwal. And the last day is just the right, really the Shanti Parv, the Swargarohan or the Swargarohan of Pandavas in the direction of Badrinath. So that's basically was the festival about 5, 6 years back. Now this is from the village Sutal in 1983, 84, 83. And so here, obviously you can see there's like slightly different sequence of events. And again, I said there's no hard and fast. You'll go today, and you may go to 5 different places in 5 years, and they may all have different sequence of these events or stories or vignettes they want to perform. Now, this one from 1980s. So first people go and they propitiate the local in Sutal, the local Bhumi, the Kshetrapal, is a god called Danu. Local, he's a local god. I did some research, basically because the language Garhwali is not that different from Hindi, so I was able to get some more details from the Garhwali words used and everything. Danu is most likely Sehstrabau Arjun here. He's and So now what happens is on that first day, uh, Kali, goddess Kali, uh, they come and possess one person, a Paswa, is called a Paswa or Dongri, and then Nanda Devi comes and possesses another person, and then the third person is possessed is basically Danu. So these three devas come and possess three people, and then they start the call. They start the say that let's start the celebrations of Pandav Leela. And they invite the five actors, the five Pandavas, to appear. And they come in the white clothes and everything. They come, they whirl around with lighted brazier. They as artis to do the artis. They all have different, equipment to identify. Yudhishthira has a staff. Bhim obviously has a club. Arjun has a bow and arrow. Sadev actually he writes. So he has like, a pen and uh, a place to, like a notepad type thing to write. And so they whirl around, and Nakul carries a whip and couple of other things, and they're slightly different. So then they summon Mother Kunti, and Mother Kunti comes. And Mother Kunti here is very powerful. She is one of the most powerful goddesses here. They so the actors summon the actor. They summon Mother Kunti to appear in an actress, and that actress comes in. This role is always played by a senior, a Rajput lady of the village, and so that lady then takes over the role of Kunti. She is the older sister of Bhudevi and of Lakshmi and also Gandhari and couple of others as a part of it. Then they summon the incarnation of Kali. Kali herself summons the incarnation of Kali as Draupadi. So here in Pandav Leela in Garhwal, this is very, very clearly demarcated Draupadi's Kali. It's there actually right across in a lot of Indian folk legends and folk stories across the country, you will find places where you will have the same intonation that Kali is Draupadi. She dances with the four brothers. She has an angry dance with Arjun because Arjun doesn't. She's come to protect them for the war, and she is going to be leading them in war. She is one of the fighters, one of the five main fighters. Yudhishthir, actually being Dharmraj and non-violent, will not actually engage in the war himself. Draupadi takes that role in the Kurukshetra war on behalf of Yudhishthir. And so Arjun is sort of diffident and fast, and this is the idea they are preparing, that, he will meet his friend Krishna, and Krishna will Srimad Bhagavad Gita and get him onto the act. The eighth person, says there are five Pandavas, Kunti and Draupadi are summoned. Eighth actor to be summoned is Krishna, the eighth son of the Devaki. There's a sort of cadence to it here. Then comes Subhadra, and then the tenth actor is Hanuman, Narad. Then 12th, they summon this lady Vasudanta. She is the Naga princess, daughter of Vasuki, and daughter of Vasuki and Dhiya Brahmani. And Dhiya Brahmani is another major uh, character worshipped as locally for her piety and her powers. Both Kunti and Dhiya don't have any power. They have just piety, devotion to people, to looking after, the care, the love, and that's how they are uh, treated as the top, the biggest, most, you could say, the number one among all gods and goddesses in the local area. So Vasudanta comes in. She's the daughter of Vasuki. She comes with her son Nagarjuna and her daughter Nagarjuni. And then 15th is Kalia the ironsmith and his wife Loharini. Loharini also means, blacksmith. So, he runs the Anushala of Pandavas. He makes their weapons. He's the weapon maker. He will make the weapons and ayuds which are going to be used for the war. The 17th is Naru Uchanga. She is Bhima's Naga princess. She's, I think, also daughter of Vasuki. Not though the different stories have a different lineage for Naru Changa, but she's Hidimba very, very clearly, Then there's the two very interesting characters are in this Pandav Leela. They are called Tilbila and his sister Tilbilla. They're supposed to be from Tibet and they come with a yak, but in Garwhali, when the song is being sung and everything, they are not. They currently are wearing Tibetan clothes or something in their costumes, but they are called Hudiya, and this could be a story which is coming back from the days when Huns had invaded India around 4th century, fifth, and when Skamgupta defeated them. So this is very interesting feature we need to really study a little bit. And then Uttar and Uttari, Uttara and Uttar, from Virat's kingdom, they come up, and these are the 21 main actors. Of course, then the creation stories are told for 3 hours. One of the very interesting things I found in Garwhal legends is when they're talking about it is the birth of Brahma is exactly like the birth of Phanes. The Greek deity has a similar story. So anyway, other than that, uh, when these actors are chosen, some of these parts are hereditary. They pass from a mother to daughter, or from mother to daughter-in-law, or from father to son, in a lot of places. So basically, these actors and other villagers and everything also participate, because when Bhim dances, there are several backup Bhimas dance with him, showing that the original Bhim was so powerful and so skilled and so fast moving and everything. He looks like that there's several Bhimas around. Then the remaining, the cast basically of Pandav Leela assembles. There is an interesting set next is the Mohars. The Mohar are the Pandava servants, and they are a fixed set. And this is exactly mimicking what Panukwans, Semar, Gerong, etc., are there in the Indonesian Wayang Mahabharata. So there is this thing that far apart in the hills of Garhwal, we have the uh, story. Then, of course, the sort of the god there are there's a nine goddess dance, and that includes Draupadi and Kunti and others, and there the other numbers are made up by Runia. She's a leather worker, chamari, chamar, Runia chamar, and there's a lady called Chunka. There's not much detail about her I could find. And then there's Ghasiari. She's the grass cutter, and she's Arjun's favorite wife, and she has a power, and she has a son who has a role to play in the Pandav Leela, in the local Pandav legends there. So they make up and they are part of the nine goddess dance. So here you see basically everybody is sort of treated as goddesses, all the actors and everything. And so the Pandav Leela starts. There is Guru Dron, Lakshagrah, all those stories. They're like humorous parts of the skits. Like Pandavas, they when they are going to find jobs, when they're hiding in Virat, they go and ask, do you have a job? And the Arjun goes to Brunala, and she's, what can you do? I can teach dance and music. And they say, it's a tight budget. We don't have much money. Uh, we'll not call you. You call us. So it's sort of humorously done. And finally, one of the Pandavas get the job, and then so it's a sort of a joke on the nepotism. And then they get all the brothers and everybody, basically employed in. So, and then there is, of course, the Bhim's battles with the demons. Abhimanyu dies in Chakravyuh. This is done very early on in the cycle. Um, uh, and the Chakravyuh since 87, 1987, 89, 87, 89, this 89, this Mahabharata, the TV serial came out. So since then, actually, the Chakravyuhs have become more and more complex, and there's actually even a Kamal view with 14 gates performed in the Pandav Leela in Garwhal, and the performers actually work hard, save up money to perform this beautiful Chakravyuh dance when they get a chance, and they can't do it every year because it's expensive to get all the equipment. But it's like a it's like a circular gate inside, and they get all these. They have to build up the set and everything. The Ayodhya Puja was done in 80s. It was done generally on the fifth day. Now it is done on the first day. So I think there are some changes. And then day 8, 9, and 10 are very complete immersive plays and celebrations. So Professor Kumar actually had shown that, pole in in the Chittur play, right? So similarly, there's a big pole they bring out. They cut a fresh pole, and then they decorate it, and then they worship it. And then Kali and Hanuman, the actors, the people possessed by Kali and Hanuman, they go and they climb up. And this pole is being held by the locals, like all the village men, like 15, 20 village men, and they're holding this pole together. And so there's not fixed yet onto the ground, and they're holding it, and they climb up on them, Kali and Hanuman, and they're basically, uh, with Aarti, big Aarti braziers, and they cook small seeds in it and prasad, and it's a very engaging ritual, and they believe and trust the people, the men they're holding it, they don't want to drop it, and the person who's possessed by Hanuman, he climbs up to the top of the pole, and he does the ritual benedictions. He has a bag with him. He rains grain and fruit on the villagers as they hold him aloft. And then, of course, they had at the same time, they had dug a pit. They did a yagya there. And in that pit, then they go and all the men, they carry the pole, and then they, uh, you know, uh, install it there. And this is a very interesting story. This whole ritual is part of a very interesting story. In Mahabharata, Sanskrit Mahabharata, Kauravas do a Vaishnav yagya. Here, Kauravas are doing a Mahavish yagya, great poison yagya. To counter that, Akashvani comes to Yudhishthir, and he says, you have to get this pole, and a character from Lanka to cancel what Kauravas are doing. So he sends Bhim. Bhim meets Hanuman. We know the story how Hanuman and Bhim meets. That's that story. Then Hanuman and Bhim both they go to Lanka and they're hosted by Mrs. Kumkaran who gives them food and everything. And there this story I have found it in one of these Thalpurans, one of the southern festivals. It's in Indonesian legends, and it is probably in Skand Puran, a variation of on in Kedar Khand. I think it's there. So their Bhima swims in the Kumbhakarna's skull. Anyway, they come back and then they counter it. So this is a very big part of the local festival, this thing. Then, of course, the Kurukshetra war happens. Pandavas then have to do Ashwamedh to, uh, you know, cleanse the sin of kinslaying. The four brothers go in four directions to fight, and on the last day, everybody is very, very sad. They're crying. They don't want the festival to end. And there is a lot of personal reasons to this also, because you see, this festival doesn't come to that village maybe every year, and it may come after some years. So some of the people who are participating in this festival, they may not be alive for the next one. So there's this song they sing at the end of it. On the last day, Yudhishthir is doing his passing the final tests. That dog as Dharma as dog and everything is entering heaven, and the people are singing this song that the bird flies but the summit remains. Man dies but the Pandav stories remain. Speech is immortal, Vak is immortal, seasons are immortal. Nothing else lasts in the world. How many have danced in these stone courtyards, and how many ages have passed, but those who will survive will meet again to dance the Pandav Leela once more. So this is very much part of the civilization there. It's not a book, a drama, a song. It's their personal identity. It's a geographical assertion of their itihasa. It is the celebration of humans that the gods have come on earth for few minutes, few hours, few days to dance with us. And all rich people communally support their actors and everything in this. So it's a sort of a part of it. Now, I will quickly, before I want to, there are two more sections left, so I'll quickly go through it. So, what are the basic, changes? Nakul is son of Pandu. He's a very powerful fighter. He kills half the people at Kurukshetra. The story is ki the other sons of Kunti and gods or Madri and gods. Pandu um, has relations with Madri, and Nakul is born, and Pandu dies because of it. And because Pandu dies and Madri is pregnant, so they wait. And so the Pandu is never cremated at that point in time. He's kept sort of in there, and his ghost is still on Earth, and he basically helps out his kids from time to time. Sadev is a little different here. Sadev is son of Brahma uh, in some stories, or a gentleman, a god called Gopi Chitra. He's the god who creates flowers. And of course, Arjun has two extra wives, Vasudanta, Ghasiari. Kunti's sister is Bhudevi. Her son is Bhaumasur. Her grandson is Bhagdat. So Bhagdat is part of Pandav group here. He's the cousin who hangs around with Arjun. He's the comedy appeal. And there is in four Dushtan, there's Dushasan, the Duryodhan, Karna, and Shakuni. They are not there. This is Usal, Dusal, Drona, and Duryodhan. So you see, where's Karna in there? Nothing, not much. And but there is one major character. He's called Jaka, Yaksha. Uh, he's Kimru Nag in Himachal. He's Yalambar. He's sometimes called Bhurishava. He's Barbarik, Khatushyamji. He's Aravan in the you will see the you will in the next lecture in the lectures that will follow you will encounter Incar. He's exactly that character, and so he's there. And so you see in Himachal he's there. He's there in Garhwal. He's there in Nepal. He's there in Assam, and he's there in Kerala. So this is the same character, and he's Khatushyamji in Rajasthan. He's there in Gujarat. Another part of it is that, as you know, Draupadi is Kali, she's also Parvati. Kamdhenu had, cursed. Shiva. And so the five forms of Shiva, Loknath, Markandeshwar, Yameshwar, Nilkant, and Kapalmochana, they appear as the five Pandavas here. And Pandavas build the six temples when they were chasing Shiva after the war is ended. So Kalpeshwar is where the Shiva's locks are seen. Rudranath is where the head of Shiva as a bull head is seen. Tungnath where his Shiva's arms appear. Madhyameshwar is the navel, and the back of Shiva is seen at Kedarnath. And of course, the quickly I'll go through it. Ghosh Yatra is mimicked where Nakul actually fights the Kaurva cowherds a lot of times. And there's always this fun part of it is that if they become too I mean, he fights all of them alone. He fights all hundreds of cowherds, and he all the Kauravas alone, Nakul every time. And he comes back, and his head is full of lice because he's fought them and he's fallen in sand and everything. So v- Nakul is one of the main figures here, is because the Garhwalis believe they are sons of Nakul. They are descendant from Nakul. So Nakul is their father. And that's where Nakul comes into a big focus here. It's also like, Yudhishthira did say in Mahabharata, I only need Nakul. So Nakul is the son of goddess Dhriti, Madri. Uh, goddess Dhriti, if in Purans, is the favorite wife of Dharma. Unlike Chandra, who was focused on Rohini, Dharma, though was focused on Dhriti, kept all the others also happy, so he doesn't get that appearance. But Dhriti is fortitude, and Kunti is Siddhi, success. And success cannot happen without fortitude. And Nakul represents the fortitude of Pandavas here. The Kirat Shiva incident is there as a Arjun Vasudanta. Arjun meets Vasudanta as a part of the Kirat Shiva episode. The curses of Karn, killing the cow and the calf. These are taken by a gentleman called Vidyadhar, who becomes a big story. And there is also a gentleman called Natkhat Narayan. He's the son-in-law of Kunti. He's Krishna, sort of the mischievous character. And of course, there are tests of Yudhishthira, obviously. In Pandav Leela, there are tests of Kunti. So, uh, so let's quickly go over if I quickly go a rhinoceros story. So, Gayasur story, so basically, the current equivalent here is Vidyadhar. Vidyadhar is son of a uh, 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 priest who has a golden sickle. He cuts herbs using the golden sickle. He can treat the diseases. So he sends his son to do that, and his son is, I don't want to do this job and everything. So he ends up killing the cow, and so he's cursed to be born as a son of Keshi the Daitya. And the Keshi the Daitya is not a good father or something. He leaves the kid alone at home. He's hungry. Anusuya hears her crying, and Anusuya comes down from heaven and feeds the kid. So the kid decides to become better. Okay, I am born as a evil demon. I want to get better. And that's the story of Gayasur we can get from the various Gaya legends. So he is then reborn as a rhinoceros. And that rhinoceros hide is needed for the Shraddha ritual of Pandu. You remember Pandu is still as a ghost going around. So Arjun basically meets in Kirate Arjuna episode. He meets Vasudanta, marries her, goes with her to her father Vasuki palace in Naglok, and there basically he's informed by Kunti. Kunti creates from her skin. Kunti creates two bumblebees. The Brahmari Devi is part of that story. So those bumblebees go and inform Arjun that he is needed. He has to fetch the rhinoceros, which was born as Gayasur earlier, and that rhinoceros basically is with Arjun. So Arjun then returns back from Naglok. It takes him 12 years to get back. In that very time, his son is born, Nagarjun. He doesn't know his father. He's very angry. His people tease him. So he basically asks his mother, "Where's my father?" He says, "Your father is Arjun. Your grandfather is Indra, and he's right here in Devlok." So Nagarjun goes to Devlok, and that's where where Indra has this rhinoceros, and he gives rhinoceros as a pet to. I mean, there's a bigger part of the stories and everything. I'm just going over quickly. So Nagarjuna now has the rhinoceros as a pet, And Arjun returns to get the rhinoceros hide, and as he kills the rhinoceros, Nagarjuna and Arjun fight, and that's the story of Babruwan killing Arjun. So Nagarjuna kills Arjun, and now there's a big problem. Now you see, in the story, Ulupi basically gets that money. She gets some money to revive Arjun, but here we have Hanuman, and Hanuman also treated Lakshman, remember? So Hanuman goes to, and he has time to study. So he knows how to identify Sanjeevani now. He goes, he doesn't need to bring the whole mountain. He brings Sanjeevani, revives Arjun. Another story is that, Vasudanta goes to Indra, defeats Apsaras in a battle of dances or something, and gets Indra to revive Arjun. And then there's a third story. Kunti is the powerful goddess. She's also the big priestess of the Mahasu. Mahasu are the four gods of the region. They are sort of very hidden figures. They are part of the Kshetrapal pals in every aspect of it. And so they have given some herbs to Kunti. So Kunti also revives Arjun. So this is a very famous rhinoceros story. Uh, the last part I want to talk, there's a lot of stuff we can talk about it, but and Brahmari Devi stories are exactly like goddess Sharika in Kashmir. Again, Shivaliks going down, Kishtwar going down. Kashmiri Pandits have goddess Sharika stories that become goddess Brahmari stories in the Garhwal Shivaliks. So, and the final part I want to talk about is the five Prayags. There's a Prayag called Karn Prayag, and I want to talk about that because people keep on saying it's named after Karn. No, it is not. It's not related to Karn at all. Here, the river Alaknanda and river Pindar meet. Pindar comes out of the Pindari glacier, which is like, all the adventurers and tourists go a lot. Pindar river is actually called Karn Ganga. There's a lot of answers why it's called that, but remember when Bhagirath is going with Ganga after she comes down and she's going with him, she tries to trouble Rishi Janu, and Rishi Janu, drinks up the Ganga, and she comes out of the ear of Rishi Janu. So that's the Karn Ganga. That could be a name of it. Of course, I found another river called Jal Ganga, which merges into just after Gangotri. It merges into Bhagirathi, and it is also called Janvi. So there could be multiple Janvis. Both Alaknanda and Bhagirathi may have Rishi Janu stories. But the name Karnganga is also because Uma, the Parvati, she was born to the Dimri Brahmins. The Dimris are the traditional priests of the Badrinath temple. So at the village called Sankri Sera, Parvati is born as a local to the local priest, and she marries Shiva, who's born in another local nearby village, Kapripatti. And so Nanda Devi, Parvati's form there, she has every 12 years, this is the local Kumbh, you can Mahakumbh. And there is actually one of the Kumbh places, Haridwar and Devbhumi. But she goes around on a 28, 24, 28-day trip, 280-kilometer trip around Garhwal, visiting all the places and temples and everything. So so we find that Karn Prayag, and so that lady, that Dimri, she might be called Karni. So again, that could be the Karn Ganga. But the funniest part is that Karn Prayag is designated as a Tirth in no other place than in Mahabharata itself. In Tirth Yatra Parv, chapter 84 of KMG, chapter 82 of Bori edition, भद्र कर्णेश्वर गत्वा देवम अच्छे यथा विधि न दुर्गितम अवनापोति नाग पृष्ठे च पूज्यते. So it is right there. So uh, uh, Rudraprayag, Karnprayag are mentioned as Tirths in Mahabharata itself. Yudhishthir goes to them in one parv. So these are very ancient. Uh, this basically suddenly brings antiquity right down to these mountains, these temples, these places, and the belief of the Garhwal that the gods walk among them. And so that's basically, and there's a lot more to cover, but I would like to stop here at this. Thank you. Oh, so any questions? Any uh, any questions? Any details? Any further points you want to elaborate on? Sunil Kumar's question is, how has Pandav Leela adapted to modern influence and influx of technology? That I will tell you is very clear from that. Krishna is now Krishna worship was there, like at the recent festival, the recent version of the recent edition of the uh, 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 thing, and then the story, the stories of uh, Shami Vraksh, which is to do with the stories of rhinoceros, that the rhinoceros story part of it, and Shami Vraksh are converted to Krishna stories in the recent editions of Pandav Leela. Another change is also obviously Panch Pradhan comes in, Nanda Devi and uh, Kali sort of retreated in the background in the recent years for some reason. Panch Pradhan, indicating the five devas, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, Ganesh, Kartikeya. So that's some of the changes. Other than that, most of the rhythms, most of the anecdotes and vignettes remain the same. There has been some other changes. There was a TV serial called Mahabharata in '89, which basically gave some focus to certain characters. So the TV serial has influenced some of these locals to change the names of some of their temples to as a tourist trap. Karn Prayag being an example, and that's why I wanted to talk about Karn Prayag, especially it's nothing to do with Karn, the character in Mahabharata. It is actually to do with Parvati's avatar, and that it is mentioned by Bhadrakaraneswar, and that area is already mentioned in Mahabharata as a Tirth. Uh, Anything else? Any other questions? Oh, okay. So Leela asked the question. So Pandav Leela is dance and drama. And I said the five aspects of it, which is the point. Okay, let's just so vignettes, stories, and everything. Recitation is very part of it. Recitation part plus the nritya and costumes is Pandav Leela. Without it, it is locally called as Pandwani. No, it's Panwani. Yeah, I wrote down. I knew somebody was going to ask that question. So Pandwani is that recitation part. It's called Panvi or Panvai in Himachal. It is called slightly different in other parts. In Kurmachal, it's there also. It's but Pandwani is 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 part of it. Uh, and other than yeah, basically the that Pandavani, that recitation of the legends, the recitations across the various nights and everything. That's Pandavani is there. That's in Kurmachal. That's in eastern UP also. It's slightly different names, but of course the Pandav word is part of the names. It's there in Himachal also. Uh, Tribal roots. So this is the funny part. Pandav Leela is very much part of the culture. This is a very big assertion of the Kshatriya, celebrations there. Like, but it is also rooted in. You have to understand also in the Garhwal area, most of the population is basically one or there are like three or four castes only. There are Ravats, the Kshatriyas, there are Brahmins, there are the dasas, the drummers, and everything, the farmers. and that's it. And cow herds, I mean, uh, the focus on Nakul is a very good example here. The focus on Nakul is basically because Nakul is um, Nakul is human on the of the five, and so and he's their ancestor. So the Nakul as a human is doing things which are not a king does, but also like an average human being does. He is the cowherd. He gets into fights, gilli danda. There's basically so there's this gilli danda battles he gets on with into with Kauravas whenever he goes with his cows and ox to basically to the pastures and everything. So again, it does involve bovine and so tribal in the sense, yes, there is a very tribalistic attitude to it in the sense that like local village, as I said, the Pandav Leela is inherited from father to son, from mother to daughter or daughter-in-law. So that way, there is a tribal root to it. Uh, the stories are very much similar. They are very, I mean, there are a lot of stories from Mahabharata. The variations are very, very interesting. And there are these characters like, Arjun's wife, who's the Ghasiyaran, she cuts grass and everything. And so attracts Arjun's eye and all those. Um, we can tell Vasudanta is sort of Chitrangada and Ulupi in one. We can identify Nagarjuna as Babruvahan slash Ira and Jaka. Oh, and there's another thing is that Yaksh. It's Yaksh in Himachal is called Jaka. Sort of saying the Yaksh in the same way. In so Jaka is he comes to Krishna and Krishna says, which side you're going to fight? And he says, like same way as Barbarik does, Katushyam does, Aravan says, I'm going to fight on the side which is losing. So he basically puts five leaves under his foot and he asks him to shoot arrows. He shoots all the arrows out, including the ones Krishna had hidden. So basically says, we need to sacrifice somebody who has 32 Lakshana, and the only person satisfying that is Jaka here or Aravan or Yalambar or Barbarik. So uh, and he basically still lives. And so Krishna gives him that you will not participate in the battle. He sacrifices his head, but he is still alive, and he gives him 18 servants. And one of the interesting part is one of those servants is Karna. So they basically part of the stories in Pandav Leela is that some of the people who get defeated, Duryodhan gets his thighs broken, and he is allowed to run away. And he basically runs away, and he goes to one of the Mahasu. No, he goes to Mahasu, um, and says, "Can I have some land to live in?" And so there's a temple of Someshwar, and Duryodhan supposedly lives as the priest there, and the priest there today also they walk around basically as if they have a broken thighs, they broken legs or something, and as they walk, they say to say that they are basically echoing Duryodhan. So another part basically of the Pandav Leela is the possession. Sort of they sort of imbibe the characters completely, and it could be as we say in areas, other parts of India, as Mata aa gayi, or possessed. Devi has come over the individual. So that is a very big part of it. And again, they believe gods live with them. They're just hidden around because they don't want to participate in this modern world. Uh, that's it, Dr. Nagraj.
Shall we take up these comments and questions, Pranshuji?
I took up the questions I saw. Oh, there's some more.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. So I once watched a Pandvani performance where Eklavya's story was told.
Yeah. Oh yeah, so in Garwhal, Pandav Leela, Eklavya doesn't show up. Actually, that's not exactly correct. Um, he uh, like there is a Nishad and his sister, and they basically show up, and they are part of the Pandava group of characters. But it's not really Eklavya. There's no uh, word there's no specific story in Eklavya. One important part is that, as I said, the four big villains are different here. Asal, Dusal. So Dusal is obviously Dushasan. Asal is most likely standing in for Karn, and instead of Shakuni, we have Dronacharya. But so there's a character. So Drona is a different. So they're like a Guru Drona, and there's a Rath Shala, Rath Kulle. So there is this local deity, local not he's a deity also. So there's a local character, local demon, not demon, it's like local character who possesses and who is supposed to be the the evil brain behind Duryodhan in the Uttarakhand legends. So there is like in he is a leader of a group of people, and they trouble a group of people called Fasnadis. So this is obviously two different tribes, you could say, or two different villages. One could be Fasnath village and another village. So there are a lot of stories about them fighting each other, and so one is most likely Drupad and Drona Rathkul. So basically, you can extrapolate some of these local um, village fights and everything into Mahabharata stories. And as I said, everything which is there in the world you can find in Mahabharata. So this is a very easy way to identify that. Okay, this character is this and this character is that. Rathkulle is also in some other parts of Garhwal. The story is Kulle is most likely Duryodhan. Again, how that local storyteller is telling the story may change that, because there's no scripts in here. All of it is like recorded over the last 40, 50 years, last 60 years, since not Mr. Nautiyal, Dr. Nautiyal started recording in 1960s. There were some people who wrote down in 1880s, so we know that this is an ancient stories which have been there for a long time.